The tomb, an ancient cursed burial ground that holds many secrets for us to discover. And as we all know, certain archaeologists have gone in and never come back out alive. That doesn't sound very safe to me. So in today's safety check, we will be going through the tomb to figure out exactly how safe this place actually is. Welcome to Safety Check. Here we are, back on the tomb. It looks like a fairly nice day today for a safety check. So why don't we just do that and get straight into it? Alright, so the first thing I want to talk about is going to be the equipment, considering we are at a dig site. Now there's not much equipment visually around too much. There's like little bits and bobs in the starting area, like some tipped over wheelbarrows, and like you got the lighting and stuff. And obviously all the crates that have got different types of equipment in them. So it's not a major risk for our first one. And that's why it is realistically a low tier risk. And because it's actually fairly hidden away, we won't be classifying it as a major incident here. And it will be getting an 80 out of 100. The next one on the other hand isn't as great. And it's the tripping hazards. Now, it's a dig site. You're going to expect some tripping hazards. But when you see loads of rocks just left on the side like this that you could trip over, or this guy's big old nose that isn't cordoned off, you know, that could be pretty dangerous. You could definitely trip over those. And then, of course, the further into the tomb you actually come, you can see there's a lot of debris on the floor, skulls, rocks, uneven steps. All of these things could be detrimental to you tripping over. I mean, look at these. You could definitely trip over a big ass pillar like this, or all of this on the floor. That's definitely screaming as a safety risk. So I would say tripping hazards is a fairly big risk, and for that reason it is going to get a 70 out of 100. Next up, we have low tier burns as our third low tier risk. As you can see, there's a few little fire spots just lurking around on the map that you could easily catch yourself on. And for this room specifically, there's quite a few. And this of course continues because you can go back to the spawn area and there's more fire about. I mean, there's fire here on the wood, which isn't good. There's fire around this broken pillar, which isn't good. And there's more of this wood just on fire here. So fire is definitely an issue. So low tier burns is going to get an overall rating of 80 out of 100. Now we have one more low tier risk to talk about here. And it's going to be the hygiene. As always on these maps, there are elements of blood on the floor, which, you know, we know aren't great. And there's quite a bit of it in the starting room as well. I mean, it's pretty much all over the place when you look at it. It's coming out the walls, it's all over the floors, it's even down here, and this poor guy's got it on his head. And it doesn't stop there, because you can go down here and without even seeing the blood around, you can tell that this place is dark and gloomy and probably doesn't really get much in terms of light apart from the little rays, which is definitely going to cause hygiene issues in itself. And that's without forgetting to mention all the skulls that are on the floor and the walls, I guess. You cannot convince me that having all these dead skeletons around is hygienic. It is definitely not. And for that reason, it's going to get a 70 out of 100. But with that said and done, we can move on to our medium tier risks. And if you haven't guessed it, the first medium tier risk we're going to talk about is falling. Now, I can't really see what's down there, but I wouldn't want to fall down there, would you? The same with over here or over here. That looks like it would be my imminent death. Now, those are probably the worst culprits when it comes to falling. But of course, I do have to mention the smaller falls as well. That could cause you not as bad of an injury, but could still hurt. Like, for example, none of this is cordoned off. I mean, they've put little barriers across this part, but why isn't there a bit here, you know, where you could fall straight down here? Or you could end up falling off this high spot. Again, it doesn't look very high, but it could definitely cause you some issue. You could definitely snap some legs down there. So bearing that in mind with what we saw in the caves as well, falling is quite a dangerous hazard for us, and it is going to get a 40 out of 100. Our second medium tier risk is going to be electrocution. Now you might be thinking, where is there electrocution on this map? Well, let's first go into the spawn room, where you have these generators, which are also quite close to fire. I mean, look at them, they're smoking, which to me signals they are at risk of causing some harm to you. Same with this one over here. It is smoking, which signals a fault in the electronics, which of course could cause electrocution. But then if you want something even worse, all we have to do is go back to where we were looking a second ago at the massive falls and the massive drops that we could fall down. And look into these clouds. Look at all of those lightning strikes. That is not safe. As if falling down there wouldn't be bad enough, you have to fall into a bloody pit of electric as well. I mean, look at it. Look at it sparking off. You wouldn't stand a chance. Now, for that reason, it's actually going to get quite a high rating. It's going to get a 40 out of 100. Now, we have one more medium tier risk on this map, and it's going to be the building stability. As you know, this place is ancient. It's an ancient tomb. And what happens when you get very ancient areas is you end up having weak areas of stability. Like, as you can see, the roof here has collapsed in on itself. This part of the cave here has collapsed in on itself. The pillars here have collapsed in on themselves. I mean, I originally imagined this was actually a roof of some sort before it collapsed, but not anymore. And the same with all these pillars. I can't imagine they always look like that. I bet they were once standing very tall and proud, but not anymore. And the same with rooms like this. You've got the roof that's fallen apart, and this pillar or wall, shall we say, it's not even a pillar, was once complete. Doesn't look like it is anymore. Not very good. Now, I can't be sending people down here without them being conscious that this could fall in on them. So it is going to get a 40 out of 100. Okay, so we've got our medium tier risks completed. Only the 3 today, I know. But we do have some high tier risks that we do have to talk about here. And the first one relates to our building stability, which is the potential to be crushed. Now, with all these caves obviously collapsing in on themselves, there's a high chance of some of this material also collapsing whilst we're in here and crushing us as well. I mean, if something this size fell on my head, I'd be a goner. Even if it was this small, I'd be a goner. And I mean, let's be honest, even if it was one of these tiny rocks, I'd probably be a goner. That's brain damage I'm not coming back from. And you can see all over the place that these instabilities are happening where the tomb is just collapsing in on itself. So being crushed is a pretty big risk, I'd say. And for that reason, it's going to get a 15 out of 100. Moving on to our second high tier risk, it's actually going to be drowning. And a lot of the water, as you can see, is in this main area here. We have lots of water coming off the top of the roof and going down into what I can imagine are pools down there, I hope. I don't really know. I don't want to find out, if I'm honest, what's down there. But there's a lot of water in the map if you are to go down to certain areas, which could lead you to drown. And, of course, nobody wants to drown, especially while they're in a workplace. So drowning is a big risk, not quite as big as being crushed in my opinion, but it is still going to get a 20 out of 100. And whilst we're in this area, we do have one final high tier risk that we want to talk about, and it's a chance of being impaled. Now this also kind of relates to the other 2 high tier risks, which are being crushed and drowning in a way, because all of the water over the years has formed these lovely sharp pieces of rock that could at any time fall down and impale us. And it doesn't take a genius to notice that these are everywhere. Look, they are all over the place. You can see them wherever you are in the tomb. And they are just waiting to completely snap off and fall down on your head and gut you. So I'd say that's a pretty big risk in my opinion. And it is going to get a 20 out of 100. But with that said and done, that is all of the high tier risks completed for this map. But we do have, on this instance, 4 miscellaneous risks. And the first one is what I'm going to walk through right now. It's the gateway portals. Now, we just willy-nilly walk through these portals like it's nothing. We just accept it and go through and hope that we turn out okay on the other side. But how do we know that we're going to be okay when we get out the other side? How do we know if we're going to get to the other side or if there is another side? We're just completely trusting that these portals are safe. And also, as some people have already found out trying to complete the Easter egg for this map, it's not safe. Some people have been falling to their deaths going through portals.
I actually somehow guessed that right. Dude, they need to fix those symbols. Are you serious?
All I'm saying is, we could one day just try to walk through a portal here and it could have changed where it's taking us. And I don't like that. And that's also without the thought that these portals can close on you if they want to. We've once again seen whilst doing the Easter egg that these portals close at times. Imagine if they all closed up and you got stuck in this place forever. I don't think you'd survive very long. So yeah, portals are fairly risky, and for that reason, they are going to get a 50 out of 100. Now, whilst we're here, we might as well talk about another miscellaneous risk, and that is these little mushrooms that we got here. Hello, little fellas. Goodbye, little fellas. Now, of course, when we gut these things open, they give us nice loot. Sure, but I don't trust them. These ones are nice, but look at what they spew out. Without even saying that they spew out the parasites, of course, which are toxic in their own, they are probably also spewing out toxins. Like you can see here, I mean, that doesn't look like it's healthy for you. And you go near all of these mushrooms and you see the same kind of thing. Like, look at this. I'd bet money that those are some sort of lethal toxin that we shouldn't be inhaling. And of course, these mushrooms are everywhere across this realm. I don't know if I'm just being a bit cautious, but I don't think they're very safe. And for that reason, they are going to get a 50 out of 100. But moving on from that, we want to talk about our next miscellaneous tier risk, and it's these lanterns. Because when you shoot them, they create very dangerous flames that, you know, are quite dangerous to you. That doesn't look good. That's hurting me quite badly and pretty quick. It's purple flame, which fire we know isn't good anyway. And the fact that it could possibly just break and land on our head, that's not good either. So lanterns are going to get a 60 out of 100, and the only reason they're not getting lower is because they are fairly limited in where they spawn. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have one final miscellaneous risk, and we have to go back to the whatever you call it. I like to call it the underworld. I know it's not the underworld, but this is what I like to call it anyway. But the last one relates to the reason we're here, which is this guy, the Sentinel artifact. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole Easter egg to take us over there, because that just takes time and effort. But we all know what the Sentinel artifact does when we get there. It turns against us, and it tries to kill us. And of course, if anyone has previously played Black Ops 4 Zombies, they know the kind of damages that the Sentinel artifact can do anyway. So it's a pretty dangerous thing, you know? And for that reason, we are going to put it on the list either way, but we are only going to give it a 50 out of 100, and that is because you have to do a whole goddamn ritual just to get to the thing, and then you also have to interact with it before it even starts attacking you. So I would say it's not as major a risk as it is, because it's not as easily accessible as some of the other risks. But with that said and done, that is all of the risks for this map. Now, of course, we also like to look for any safety features on these maps. Most of the times we don't have anything to go against, but this time around we actually do have one. We have fire safety, and more importantly, we have fire extinguishers. As you can see, there's a little fire extinguisher here. I don't know why anyone hasn't put out that flame that it's right next to, but I'm not here to judge that. And there's more of them here lying around, so there are fire extinguishers on the map on the off chance that fires do occur. But I guess there's no one here to man them, hence why no one's put the fires out. So we do actually finally have some safety features on one of these maps, and it is fire extinguishers, and it's going to get a rating of a plus 2.5. But with that said and done, that is all of the risks and safety features on this map concluded. And just to reiterate the ones that we had today, we had equipment with a rating of 80, tripping hazards with a rating of 70, low tier burns with a rating of 80, hygiene with a rating of 70, falling with a rating of 40, electrocution with a rating of 40, building stability with a rating of 40, being crushed with a rating of 15, drowning with a rating of 20, impaling with a rating of 20, mushrooms with a rating of 50, the portals with a rating of 50, the lanterns with a rating of 60, and the sentinel artifacts with a rating of 50. And on top of that, we of course have our one safety feature for the map, which is fire extinguishers with a rating of plus 2.5. Now, when we put all of those risks together, we get an average rating of 49 out of 100. But of course, we have over 10 risks on this map, which does give it a -5 overall. But of course, like I said, we have the +5 for a fire extinguisher as well, which does put it up by 2.5 points. So overall, the tomb has a total rating of 46.5 out of 100. Overall, that's actually not that bad, and it actually just goes below Liberty Falls by 0.5 of a point. Not that bad overall, and setting a fairly decent show for Black Ops 6 so far, with only one of them being in the shut it down section and the rest being at risk. So of course they need some work still, but they're not terrible for a zombies map, that is, of course. But with that said and done, that is the end of today's video. Now, the question I want to know is, were there any risks that you didn't see that were pointed out in today's video? Or were there any that I missed? Let me know in the comments down below. And did you also know that it is a risk if you do not like and subscribe the video, because the safety inspector himself might have to come and inspect what a poor job you are doing at not subscribing to the channel. But with that said and done, I just want to say a massive thank you to the members of the channel as well. The support is always appreciated. And if you have enjoyed the video, then make sure to come back for the next one, which will be Origins. With that said and done, that is the end of the video, and I wish you all a good farewell, and of course, stay safe.